They say all good ideas have legs, and I'm quite interested in trying to make a walker, so today's video, we're going to have a look at trying to build basically a leg, I guess, because without legs, we can't walk anywhere. So yeah, welcome guys. This is something I've just thrown together and I quite like it. It does work. I will guide you guys through how I did it because it's quite simple, and I think, I don't know, people who want to look at doing legs and stuff, there's a lot of ideas and different ways to build them out there. And what I love about my little community is I put a video up and you guys mess with my creations and my ideas and come back with tweaks and tips and great things. So I'll talk you through this as it is right now. So it's literally set on a controller, and at the minute, at its current state, it basically does one step. So it literally just does one step. This reason the suspension is here, first of all, was basically to let me know if this was actually touching the ground. We'll tweak the suspension up. So what you'll see is when this comes forward, so when I turn the switch on, it'll come forwards and then it'll go back. And when it goes back, hopefully this suspension should be up a little bit. And what that's telling me is that there's traction on the ground here. So it lifts up to take the step forwards. So then it puts the foot down. And then when the foot goes down, hopefully, yep, that suspension goes up, which means the weight is on there, which you can see with the wheel. So that's what we're looking at today, and this suspension just kind of, hopefully, takes any lumps and bumps out of the terrain, and it also gives us the ability to change the stiffness of the step itself. It was a little idea, and I tried, if tried is the word, to base this on sort of real life concepts, I guess is the best way to describe it. I think nature and life has the best, well, it's been around for a while, so it has the best ways of displaying how to do stuff. So this is kind of what this whole idea is here. It's like a hip and a knee kind of hinge thing. But what I've decided for the most part, this hinge where the knee is, this doesn't actually bend any. This is just to kind of get a good angle for the step itself. All the work is done around here. We've got 3 bearings around here. So we've got our hip rotation, if you like, which will do is forwards and backwards. And then we've got a kind of a knee here, which will do that up and down. So it'll mean we can lift up to walk forwards, and then yeah, put down and stuff. So basically how I did it was a little bit like this, with a block on top of said suspension. And then I went in for a bearing here so that we could have that rotation of the old leggy going on. Then I went simply in with pipe pieces. Can be, you know, a block, it can be whatever you want it to be. I've done pipe pieces, and then I came out 2. So we're like this. So we're 2 here. Boom, boom. The reason why I did that is because I wanted this leg to have room to hinge. I feel if we were right in here, look, we'd foul anyway, so you wouldn't be able to get a hinge and joint like you want to. So then obviously you need the controller, and we are going to have to pull this onto a lift at some point just so that we can put things together, because we need to put 2 bearings in here, and then I put a block in here. Now obviously you can't do that because you're only going to connect to one side or the other, so you might need to zip it onto the lift and build the wall again, just so that we can put this block in here, which can be a block and can be pipe. You know what, I'll use pipe. So something kind of like this for our leg, and then I went with another long suspension underneath here, which I can't do, so I'm going to have to do the old trickaroo at the back to bring the middle out. So what that means is basically now the lift will grab it nearer a middle point so we can get underneath here. So then I've gone suspension. Now at the minute this has a tyre on it, it has a wheel on it, but due to traction and friction purposes, my actual leg, I think I'm going to put a cactus on. But for display purposes, I am going to keep the block with the wheel on it, just so that we can actually see. So it's a little bit like this, and then we're going to need to put this bad boy over so we can get underneath. So we can just weld it to the wall. Then we'll soften the suspension up totally, And then we'll connect these two bearings up. So hopefully this will work. Now, obviously, that's how it's going to be built, and that might not be where you want your starting position to be. So for me, I want to get a good step out of it. So my starting position, like this, I want to bring it back. So that means we are going to have to make sure that all the bearings are going in the right direction. We don't need to worry too much about these, do we? Yeah, we do. Why not? So, I want my leg to be back. So back is number 3. Number 3 at minus. I think that's alright. We might be able to get a little bit more. And I want the pressure to be on when it's here. So these look like they need to be down. So these need to be down so that they push. And then these guys need to be out so that the leg itself is forwards. And they can go forwards a bit more than that. We can go to 45 with this maybe. Yeah, that's kind of where my leg is at for its starting position. We'll move back on that one a bit more as well. So that's kind of its start and end position of its step. So that is just before we lift off to take the next step. So then we've got to work through a sequence. So then what we want to do is we want 1 and 2 to lift up. So we want them to go in the opposite direction to what they currently are. So our first step is arguably to lift. So we'll lift it to 30. So then that will lift. Let's get a switch so we can see what we're actually doing. So when we press the button, this is all that will happen. Okay? So it just lifts the leg up. Then once we lifted the leg up, we want 3 to swing almost 90 odd degrees out. So 3 will go 45. So that will bring us to the straight line. And then another 45, which will put us as our forward step. Then we need these bad boys to go down. So tell you what, let's stage this so this comes over here. So what we've got happening, I'll turn the speed of the controller up just so you guys can see. So what we're going to do is the kind of knee joint is going to bend first, which lifts us our leg up, and then the hip joint will rotate out, which will get us to where we want to be. We could probably take that a little bit further, you know, go 105. That's a nice big step there. Okay, so then we're going to need these guys to drop down, so they're going to need to cancel out their first movement. So that's down to 30. Here we go. And then we're going to need it to go back 105 degrees on number 3. Again, to cancel out its movement forwards. Okay. And that's basically, hopefully, it. So that's one step. So, obviously, one step's no good, so we're going to need to loop it. So now if we just loop this, awesome. It's running through. Nice and easy. So that would kind of be a leg that would walk for us, hopefully. So now what we can do, we'll turn this off and we'll put this on something so that we can see if it actually works. Probably won't. So we'll put this on here. Lift this up. Grab our weld tool. We can take this big chunk off the back. Grab our weld tool. Weld this bad boy up here. And yeah, we'll knock this down. And see if this actually does anything. So what we'll do is we'll try and build another one on the other side. Exactly the same thing, but backwards. If that makes sense. Okay, so now we're going to do set up the controller, and for the most part it's exactly the same. So we'll run it exactly the same to start with. So if 6 is exactly the same as 1, Easy enough. So that's minus 15 to start with. And then there, plus 30, plus 30, minus 30 in there. Okay. And then this is minus 45. So then it's minus 45, 105. Space 105. And then we just need to connect these two boys up. 9 and 10, and they just simply just chill at 45 degrees. Now we need to set this up so it actually looks the same. There we go. So now all wheels and whatnot are the same, so we should kind of get some sort of forwardish momentum. There we go. So like I say, yeah, that's basically 2 legs walking. And what I did, I swapped these blocks and this wheel out for a cactus. Because the cactuses have got higher friction. Therefore, hopefully they might walk a little bit better. Plonkers down, and away we go. So there you go. You can literally see it actually walks and moves forwards. And it's a very basic design. It's kind of like a little rowboat. But it does what we need it to do. You know, it's here to be a walker. And so far, I guess you could argue, it is in fact walk-in. Then it was just a case of coming up with the design to put this on. And things get really complicated. So let's save this to the lift because we are in creative. So we'll have one there, and then we'll build another one here. And what we'll do is we'll weld these two together. Awesome. Take them off the lift. There you go. Now what we can do, because they're on loop, we can actually put them to a seat. So we'll put these to a seat, and we'll connect the controllers to the seat instead of to the button. Hop in and walk forwards. It's like a little rowboat. And yes, I know that it's not exactly the most efficient thing with its up and downness, but again, you've got to start somewhere, right? You've got to learn to walk before you can run, as they say. Just check the controllers. They are up to the fastest. So that is the fastest we can go with this current build. And then it's just a case of obviously adding more legs or changing how the sequence works so that your belly isn't on the ground. You're not dragging your belly. But I don't know. For my basic concept, I guess I quite like the leg. I like the suspension. I think it kind of works for us. At the minute, we have no steering. So this is it right now. But I guess you probably could use suspension glitch steering. That might help things out. Let's see if we can do that, actually. Try this one. This one might actually be a little bit better. It might be the right way in. Yeah, there we go. So that's suspension glitch steering. It's a little bit too active, but it does work for us. So that's tiny, like, it's a little boatman, I guess. Like I say, you can play with the sequence and how it moves. Get those legs to go differently. And that's an interesting thing in itself. I have managed to do it, but it was a little bit of a confusing one. If you want to change the sequence of the legs, and I'll do it to the back ones, what I found I did... So if you reverse the number 3, or the number 8, depending on how you set it up. So if you just literally flip all these around, you kind of have your legs going in the opposite direction. So you get this more kind of one forwards, one backwards kind of situation. What you'll have to do to reverse the leg the other way around is literally change the direction of the first 3 bearings. So they literally just kind of swap over. So they'll be a little bit like this. So hopefully, now what happens when we walk? So it literally walks as you'd expect. So when the leg comes backwards, it moves us forwards. And then it's just a case of tweaking the angles to how you like. See where you get to. You might think of something a little bit better than me. That's completely up to you. But for me, that's a very basic concept of a walker. And I like it. I like these walkers. I think they're something else. They offer that extra bit of something. Yeah, this one right here isn't exactly the fastest thing in the world, but all bearings are set to be fastest. It's a level 5 controller, and it is set to the fastest speed, and it is set on loop. So unfortunately, that is where we are when it comes to these things. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool. If you set the suspension on the actual leg itself, on the foot itself, to the lowest, you might not get movement, because obviously the suspension is going to retract. So you want to set the suspension that's on the foot, if you like, to be super strong. And have the suspension on the body. Let's see what happens if we put this at super strong. I think that you're going to want to have the suspension on the body to be low rather than high. But we'll see. It doesn't really make too much of a difference, but I think, for me personally, as a visual, if you're going to have suspension on the body, you could use blocks, but I'm going to have it super low, and it allows us to crawl away. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know your ideas of how you've done walkers, if you have done a walker. But this is just literally a nice little basic thing without using wheels, just literally using those bearings. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Bye, guys.